It all started when I was faced with an unplanned pregnancy in my 20s. I was 21 at the time that I became pregnant. I was a laboratory technologist in training. It was in my second year, and I was in the hospital, and we went to each different department and spent time in there. And I was in histology, where my greatest impact happened, well, I'd say that it was a turnabout for me. I didn't realize it at the time, but probably the biggest impact that it had in my life and has lasted to this day is the days when the aborted babies came up from the operating room, and that was on a Thursday, and we had probably about 7 to 10 babies at a time. And so the doctor, as the lab assistants, we would put the buckets on the counter, and the doctor would open them up and speak into a mic and would pull out a baby and would hold the baby up and look at its gender and make sure that all the parts were there. But the babies were about this size, and they reminded me of the little dolls, those little naked rubber dolls that end up in the toy bucket because the clothes have been taken off. And it was just like a shock to me. And I didn't know anything about abortion at that time. It wasn't spoken, no education. And so it was just, sitting there or standing there and looking at that, it was just like, what is this? At the end of my training, I became pregnant, and I was looking for help. I was by myself in the city, and I went to a pregnancy counseling agency downtown, and when I went, they asked the questions, as far as the timing and such. They took a sample to find out if I was pregnant, and from my dates and that, they said that we would just do a simple injection and that you could have your baby, or, they didn't call it a baby, but I could have the pregnancy ended. And there was no options given to me as far as adoption or keeping the baby and what help I could have with that. The test came back, which hindsight again is, I really see that it was God's doing. It gave me time to think, and the test came back and it was negative. And I left there with this relief and just, I'm not pregnant. It was just a feeling of relief, walking and skipping across the road. But deep down, riding the bus home, I knew that I was pregnant, and I think every pregnant mother knows that. And I knew I could not do to my baby what I witnessed in the hospital with those babies coming out of the bucket. And that was my choice at that point, is that I will carry this baby to term. Now, it was very frightening at that time, being alone, going through my exams and finishing my course pregnant. I also thought that I probably will look into giving my baby up for adoption, because at 21, I didn't know how I could raise a baby on my own and give it what it deserved, the best life possible. I remember seeing my face in the reflection in the bus and driving through the nights and that, and just tears in my eyes. Every second day I'd be crying because I was giving my baby up for adoption, and I'd already had bonded to this baby. And then the other second day I'd be crying because I was keeping the baby, and I was terrified. How could I give the baby what this baby deserved? When I went into delivery, and the next day, I wanted to see my baby. I wanted to hold my baby before I gave the baby up for adoption, and I did. And then they took the baby away. The next day, the morning, my doctor came in, and even though I knew I had 11 days to make my decision, he really put pressure on me, and he says, "Heather, make your decision now." And I said the scariest words of my life, that I will keep my baby. My baby has changed my life. I'm a better person. That self-centeredness we all have as not being a parent, and as soon as we become a parent, it is incredible. And my life it's just better, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me.